this week we are in week 3, and we are going to be covering how to become an effective presenter. But there's many tall tales to this. So how to become an effective presenter, there's levels to this game, but what I want to explain is in the beginning, master the mundane, master the easy stuff, right? Master the stuff that you can do now, right? And it's understanding what it is you're presenting. And over time, if you're willing to master the mundane, master just this Remon presentation, right? I'm going to be going over slide by slide, giving you the selling points of how you can effectively tie this all into a presentation. But if you master the mundane and practice makes perfect, this is what are the stepping stones that gets you to become a great speaker, even maybe in a business opportunity setting with tens of people, right? But as you master this, right, as your skill set starts to grow, as you become comfortable in your skin, later it sets the platform for you to even maybe be on bigger stages like a convention or a regional. But as you master the mundane, right, not necessarily the results, but do things with intention and have some repetition, you will become an effective speaker, and a new unnoticed awareness will awaken in you where you could multitask in this business. So today is week 3. We will be going over how to become an effective presenter in the whole picture of the 8-week training course. So we are in week 3. So with that said, there's some things I do want to cover before you start a presentation. Later in the course of the 8-week training, I am going to cover the product demo and really the product side of it. But today I'm going to be talking about the meat of the move. But before you start a presentation with a one-on-one or a two-on-one or even a K-pop-up, the product demo is absolutely mandatory. If you don't do a product demo, your presentation will not be effective, because you have to understand the course and journey you're going through with your prospect. Because when you do a product demo, you're awakening the 5 senses, right? They got to smell it, they got to feel it, they got to see it, they got to really see a before and after, right? So for those of you that might be doing it at a Starbucks, right, at least do it on the palm of the hand, right? Because when you do the palm of the hand, one hand is going to be really, really hydrated with light skin, and one hand's going to be brown and reddish with an undertone, right? Obviously, this side of the hand is going to be hydrated, right? So what happens, right? It's like when you go to a car dealership, what does the salesman do? He puts you in a test drive, right? He can't explain a car to you to make a sale. He has to have you sit in it, drive it. He gives you the experience of the 5 senses, right? So when you go through the experience of the 5 senses, guess what happens? They're open-minded. Their heart is open. They're excited. They're in the buying mode, right? They're already smelling the product. They've seen the compelling result on their hand, right? So you want to open them up, right? It's like before you sell the sizzle to the steak, how do you get them to salivate? You're selling them the appetizer first, right? So there is a method to the madness. In the beginning, it is mandatory that you do product demo, okay? If you don't do it, I will repeat, you will not get desired results, okay? This is based upon you doing the demo. So now that's out of the way. Given that the product demo is done, understand that it has to do with your posture, right? Everything has to do with your confidence, the way you feel. But here's what I want to tell you. It's like, what if you knew you're taking a gun to a knife fight? What if you knew you couldn't lose, right? What if you knew you're taking a Lamborghini, right, to maybe a go-kart race? Think about that, right? So it's all about the trajectory, knowing what you have, right? And the best way I could put it is facts tell and stories sell. What I mean by that is there are certain parts of the slides that's going to give you facts, but there's certain parts of the slides that sell you a story, right? And what I learned early on in this business is be a great storyteller. If you can be a great storyteller, you're going to be a great recruiter, right? You're going to be able to attract more people and understand that people will relate more to a story rather than bullet points, right? So understand this. Most people will not remember how well you did or how motivating you are, or how well you didn't do. They're not going to remember any of that when it's all said and done. The only thing they remember is how they felt. Is it real? And what's in it for me? So knowing this, right? Knowing you're going to a knife fight with a gun or a bazooka, have posture, have confidence, know that you can't win, and the law of averages are by your side. And guess what? The more you do, the better you're going to get, because the repetition never changes. Okay. So my job here is going over each slide is to tell you the selling point of each slide and how you can tie that in. Remember, every opportunity slide is selling you something, right? So what I've figured out along the way is to understand where each selling point of the slide is. And by the time you get to the end of the presentation, it is designed for you to make the sale, the close, or a setup for the follow-up, right? But pretty much what I've done is think of it like you're preparing for an oral exam, right? You're going to do an oral exam, or you're going to do an oral speech test, right? But what I've done is I've comprised notes and I'm giving you the cheat sheet today. But the good news is you don't need to ace it or 100% it. The way this test works is the more you do, the more you win, right? So with that said, starting off with the first, this is pretty self-explanatory. It's very easy, right? All you really need to do is read off the bullet points, right? But there are some bullet points with a caveat that you need to kind of understand and be mindful of, because this is where I've seen a lot of the questions asked, right? So when you get to we are the #1 rated K-beauty brand, a lot of people ask, okay, so like, how are we #1? Like, there's a lot of Korean products out in the Korean marketplace. And, this is what I like to disclose a lot of the time. We, last year in 2024, we're still in the year of 2025. There's a big picture of Mr. Huang, our global CEO, holding these big awards given to them, I think by like government facility having to do with consumer rating, right? And he's holding these two big statues, and they're #1 statues, right? And it's for the most individual units sold still this day in the year of 2024, and it is the largest exported K-beauty brand in South Korea, right? So this is what justifies us being a #1 K-beauty brand, right? Now, when we talk about 40 million bottles sold, right, you have to understand the context of why this is so important. 40 million bottles sold, right? So in South Korea, okay, there's North Korea, right? We talk about the communists, right? We don't go there, but in South Korea, the bottom tip of Korea, okay, it's the same race of people, but different ideologies, right? But on the bottom tip of South Korea resides 50 million people, right? So if 40 million people have bought and used this in a population of 50 million people, that's a compelling story. That is an eyebrow raising data, right? So this is what I like to highlight the most, meaning, before it's hit mainstream America or Europe or South America or Southeast Asia, in South Korea alone, 95% of the population bought and used it, right? So that's a compelling story, right? Compelling data, right? And as we go along into announcing North America, Taiwan, Mexico, Malaysia, Philippines, and Japan into these countries, what you have to understand is Remon, before they committed to global expansion, they did their homework, right? They went ahead and looked at the top 10 biggest countries in the world that are big K-beauty importers. So what they did is they decided to really lean into their strengths to guarantee success. So, obviously, right, this is the business of working smart. So these are some of the things that you want to be aware of and tie it in as you tell a compelling story about Remon. Okay, so as you know, on this slide, it's pretty self-explanatory. Remon is the mother company that you and I partner with, and we have a non-exclusive right to sell these products and make money. And under the umbrella of Remon, it's the brands that Remon owns, right? ICD is the skincare, Bodalab is the body and hair care, and Lifening is the inner nutrition. But remember, these are all intertwined in beauty as a inside out self-care product. Okay, so Remon is the company, ICD, Bodalab, Lifening are the brands that Remon own that we are licensed to sell. All right, now, as you know, you guys have gone over this slide. These are three main pillars, but this is where facts tell, stories tell, right? This is where the compelling story is told, right? This is where the magic of the pillar of the story, right? So I broke it down into three little training bullet points, right? But as you talk about this, the reason why we talk about the tiger grass story the most, right? Western scientists, when they first found the plant, they found tigers. When they would get wounded, they would roam around in days, they would be healed, right? Facts tell, stories sell, right? But also, it's about creating the awareness, right? Because when you hear about the K-beauty evolution, right, you're gonna hear a lot of the times plant-based K-beauty. But what makes our product really special is this is the star of the show. This is the one that started it all. Like this is the Coca-Cola, and everybody else became Pepsi, RC Cola, and all the generic brands, right? This is the gold standard of plant-based K-beauty. They started the revolution. Remon started the game, right? So it's widely known, right? So what is Byungpoo, right? So this plant is widely known in therapeutics, pharma, as you know, Madeca, Madecasol. This is a well-known, like a neosporin type medicine that is used for healing the skin, right? So as you know, there's many um, research and development behind this, right? Whether it's a white paper study, medical journal, it's studied in therapeutics, big pharma, many known names as tigergrass, madeca. So you want to go about telling the tigergrass story and the awareness of these plants, right? So it's more about, instead of data dumping and analysis paralysis, just be yourself, be natural, and be willing to tell a compelling story, right? Now, when it comes to the Jeju Lava Energy Water, what you have to understand the most is the most important ingredient in skincare all across the board is the water content, right? And most products use what? Distilled water, right? So why are we different from the rest? What makes us special and differentiated from the rest, right? So what you have to understand is this is seawater, ocean water, trapped in the bedrock of the foundation for thousands of years in the land. Okay, so it's not like a certain pool of water that they're pulling. It's literally trapped mineralized water in the bedrock, right? So when they're pulling this water, they drill the bedrock out of the core of the foundation of the land, and they extract the Jeju lava water from the bedrock. Okay, so this is naturally mineralized water. It's an infinite water source, as you know. Documentation beats the conversation. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So UNESCO is ran by the United Nations. This is not some hocus pocus that we've made up, but this is actually real pristine exclusive water, and there's only 4 places in the world. And I always mention it's Hawaii, Spain, Japan, and South Korea. So for those of you that are, taking notes, make sure you guys take pictures of my notes. This is the cheat sheet. These are the things to kind of memorize as you um, go along in really doing your presentation. But as you do it more and more and more, because the information doesn't change, you're just going to get better and better and natural as you memorize as you go. All right, so now this is the most important part by far, right? This technology right here is what made Incelderm ICD what it is today. This technology right here. This is literally, they crack the code, right? So when it comes to nanoliposomal technology, right, this can be a big word. It could be intimidating, but pretty much all you have to remember is this technology here is pretty much, it's talking about penetration, right? So when you talk about the ICD brand, it literally means into the cellular level of the dermis. So what this product is talking about is we are the premier K-beauty skincare that literally penetrates your skin and heals from the inside out. That's what we're really showcasing, right? So what transdermal is the penetration technology, right? So this is a microfluidizer. This technology is very expensive to do, and it's very expensive to replicate, because not just the microfluidizing part, but it's the penetration levels of getting it just right to the dermis level, right? You don't want it to go too deep or not too far enough, right? So this is where it's hard to replicate, and it's really costly, right? So I believe Remon, they actually perfected the actual penetration part of the nanoliposomal technology. A microfluidizer is literally a machine that creates penetrative transdermal creams, such as hormone creams, ointment creams. So what we're actually explaining is the penetration from the moment you use these products, right? So the 3 pillars that we're actually covering is the plant, the water, which is the most important part to skincare, and the delivery system of the penetration. Okay, so this is what we're actually explaining in those 3 pillars, right? And as you know, Remon campus is actually on the east side of Jeju Island. And pretty much what we like to explain is what Remon campus is when you look at Jeju Island, right? The entire east side of the entire landmass is comprised of Jeju lava energy water in the bedrock, right? So what we're actually promoting is the Jeju Lava Water Center This is a government-owned, government-ran facility that gave us the licensing rights to use the water, right? So what Remon did is on the east side where this lava center is, we actually built our Remon campus all around the exclusive Lava Water Center. So here is where our actual science lab is, the manufacturing, the power source, and the Remon indoor farm, smart farm that grows the actual giant byung pool for quality control. So understand when you're explaining this is the Jeju Lava Water Center is a government facility, and we've built our entire manufacturing plant around the water center on the east side of the island. And that's what makes this so special because it is exclusive to Remont. So what makes Remont Smart Farm really compelling and amazing is this was built by engineers commissioned from the Netherlands. So a smart farm is like a real thing where they integrate AI, modern technology. You know, they control the temperature of the soil, temperature of the water, the mineralization of the water, how many times the water has been filterized before coming into the plant. Every single aspect, meaning seed to bottle, Remon controls the manufacturing. There is no OEM white labeling with the hero ingredients. It is all about quality control. So what you know is seed to bottle, the promise, right? Even the science lab, right? Anything that you're looking for, it is with integrity and honesty and pure quality. Okay, so as you know, when we move on to the Remon Village Jeju Island slide, you know, this is an incentive, right? What you have to understand is we're piquing interest here when we get here. When we talk about the director retreat, you know, this is a 9 villa luxury resort, a Remon spa with the lava water and centel extract. We tell the story how top earners and top sellers get an all expense paid trip here. What you have to understand is, you know, we're selling a vision, we're selling a story, right? But what you have to understand is when you're talking to your audience, let's just say like a mom, right? A mom, a stay-at-home mom, or a part-time working mom, or whatever the case may be, right? Given that this is skincare and beauty products, what I always talk about is, you know, the big money is great, right? You know, changing your life, that's great too. But most women, they want to come and build something special of their own, something that they could create an income of their own, right? I always say, if there's a husband that has a full-time income and a mom or a wife, they could come into this business, make 5 to 7 grand a month part-time, you know, not have to have permission from their husband about the things they want to buy, and they get 2 paid expense vacations a year. That person is never going to quit the business. They're going to expand the business, stay involved in the business. And that's why we like to paint a picture, draw a vision of what can be possible for all your hard work and dedication if you're willing to embrace a paradigm shift, right? So this is why we're showing you this. We're showing, you know, a compelling story. We're showing opportunity. We're showing lifestyle. We're also showing relatable things. So remember, every slide, every presentation is designed to sell you something, sell you a story, sell you a vision, sell you a product. And as you know, the Remon marketing video needs no introduction. As you show this, it only creates more compelling justification. It beats the conversation, more documentation, right? The type of quality, right? So as you know, this is not a slide. This is not a product slide, but this is a notable mention, right? You know, before I get into talking about the slides section, I always make it a point to mention how we partnered with Paula Scheer and Frederick Bertin, right? So as you know, our Incel Derm ICD skincare line has seen a new rebirth, right? Has seen a new makeover in the design, and Paula Scheer had a chance to redesign this, and she had a chance to participate in it. So here I like to sell all the selling points, right? So what makes ICD special is this is a Byungpool and Jeju lava water microfluidized for penetration, half you know, pharmaceutical grade, half cosmetic grade microfluidized skincare. But you know, I also like to emphasize it's the booster serum and the dermatology cream that has been microfluidized, and the ICD line is a water-based skincare. Now the Radiance 100, I like to explain that 100% of all the ingredients have been microfluidized. This is a oil-based skincare. And I always like to brag that our skincare is a German Dermatest certified clean ingredient only product. Why? Because think about it, right? ICD means penetration into the cellular level of your dermis, in cellular dermatology, right? So whatever you're putting deep into your skin, all the way into the dermis, wouldn't we all agree that all the ingredients must be safe? It has to have safe, usable ingredients, right? Because you can't put toxic ingredients into your skin, right? So it's like it's kind of self-explanatory. It's like self-evident why it would qualify for a German Dermatest certification because it penetrates the skin, right? So I like to explain that this is a really clean, quality skincare, divided with oil-based and a water-based skincare. And as you know, I like to highlight Miss Paula Scheer. When we get into the ICD makeup, makeup is a very vast category, right? There's the age range, then there's genders, and then there's different races from all walks of life. But what I like to really reiterate is, to the U.S. market, Rimon's commitment to localization for the U.S. market. Because why? We're building over here, right? And also, we've committed to Western marketing campaign, right? It's about localization, right? It's what we can identify, what can we relate with here with American culture. And as you know, the technology is also skincare makeup. This is a skin protecting, all new K Beauty makeup that's affordable. But I like to always kind of brag that we did our beauty shoot at True Beauty Makeup Studio in West Hollywood, right? Kylie Jenner's done her marketing over there, Jessica Alba, and as you know, Paula Scheer has had her touch on the K Beauty makeup for Rimon. So this is the kind of excitement I like to show, that this is not just an Asian product, but this does have inclusivity. People from all walks of life, red, yellow, black, and white, can all participate. And for those of you that are entrepreneurs, this is a showmanship business, right? A lot of this will be showcased on Instagram, TikTok, social media. So, I like to kind of talk about where we're headed with K Beauty Makeup, how most people can participate here in the United States. And as you know, as we move on to the Boda Lab slide, I keep it very simple. I talk about how Deserticola is an algae from the desert. It dissolves the sebum plugs in your scalp and it promotes hair regrowth, right? So, legally, disclaimer, you're not supposed to say this is a hair growing shampoo. You can do that in other markets, but in the US, it's kind of regulated, but that's pretty much what it is. As you know, world-renowned fragrance savant Frederic Bertin, he created a new natural fragrance for this. This is a V-Line vegan certified clean product. And when we talk about the Swamel body care, I like to talk about the substance that is used in oil spills to save the natural habitat. So what the Swamel does as you use your body, your body wash, other body washes, it not only strips off all the dirty oil and dead skin off your body, but it also strips the natural microbiome off your body as well. Now, why this is a vegan certified V-Line, safe, efficacy, usable skin body care line is because it cleanses the body while preserving the natural microbiome on your body. So remember, when I present this, I like to position it as more of a storytelling element, kind of like just naturally explaining as I go. But remember, as you know, remember, as I'm telling this story and doing this presentation, remember they did the product demo. They're excited. They're very positive. They're excited. They got to see the hydration on their hand. They want to know more. They're in the buying mode. They're excited. So while this is happening, you don't want to, be too data dumping. You want to be casual as you kind of, tell a compelling story about this brand, right? As you know, the Lifening product, this is a detox and a collagen top off. Pretty much, I explained that the detox, this detoxes your small intestine. You swallow it like a pill. It pushes all the lining and the calcified stuff on the lining of the wall out. And as this comes out and detoxifies, it makes the way to clear the skin from hormonal acne. A lot of women struggle from this, especially along the jawline, more than you know, right? So, as I talk about this, if you follow this kind of explanation, you'll see more times than most, you'll see your prospects shaking their head because a lot of people do know what hormone, poor gut, breakouts along the jawline really is. A lot of people will, more than more than you would think, do relate to that, right? So you're actually selling a concept, selling a solution, selling an idea, right? So Beauty Collagen EX, after year 30, the body stops making collagen. This promotes youthful skin, hair and nails, and it's a great top off, right? I don't go into too much detail. I just like to pique the interest while I'm telling a compelling story. Now, as we get over here, the dreaded comp plan part, guys, the dreaded comp plan part, how, analysis paralysis, you don't want to confuse people, but I got good news for you guys, okay? Especially the new people that are not so confident. I'm not a math person. The best solution I can give to you is this is what I used. And as we go on, in the beginning, we talk about what? A traditional supply chain versus a high margin distribution model, right? So when you're explaining this, right, we're cutting the middleman out, right? High margin that goes to us. Word of mouth referral is one of the strongest ways of marketing, right? But the whole point of this is to give your prospect a paradigm shift, right? Give them a new way of thinking, right? A change in their worldview. Because why? It all ties into when I talk about recruiting, right? When I talk about recruiting, I say, don't judge people, right? The people you think that will not. The people you think that won't probably will, right? And that's where the paradigm shift comes in place. Remember, as you're doing this presentation, before you even pitch them on this, they were already a yes or a no. Your job is to sort, right? But what you're doing in this presentation is adding on top of their conviction. Whether it's a yes or a no, you're adding on top. And by the time you can explain a newfound concept, a person that's already a yes before they met you, they are going to meet the paradigm shift. They are going to come to the beginning of a paradigm shift, right? Your job is to be the vessel and deliver the information, right? Your prospect's job is to process it and make a decision. But there's a lot of other factors in the background of that, right? Other outliers, right? Like I said, like they were already a yes, right? Or even if they were already a no, a life circumstance that they're going through already before they met you that doesn't allow them to say yes. They're already a no. Same thing, right? Your job is to sort, promote the information, but help in the paradigm shift. And when that aha moment sticks, hey, I found a new way. And you see it in their face, like, oh, this is a new way. They get excited. This is up their alley. This is where the relating happens and you deliver a paradigm shift. But when we get to the next slide, the dreaded numbers, well, I have another cheat sheet for you. What I do is I just pull this up and keep it super simple. I don't get into analysis paralysis. I don't talk about percentages and all that. Like, I just give a very brief overview about retail, up to retail, make a recommendation, share, promote. You can make up to 50%, 54% in retail sales, right? Open group, right? So how I explain this is I position it in a way, right? Like a successful business like McDonald's, right? What do? They make a lot of money selling hamburgers and fries, right? You see the red arch, billions and billions of burgers sold. But how did they do that? They did aggressive expansion, right? And in open group, this is actually explaining aggressive expansion, right? Learning to harness the power of leverage and other people's efforts, a team a team play of building a distribution network, right? So it's gonna, you could make money doing retail, right? This has been around since the beginning of time. You can build a distribution channel and make a big profit. There's also other parts where you become a leader. You know how to build teams. They're going to give you an additional 5%, leadership override for creating more leaders, the power of duplicating. There's a 4% override. And, when the company's profitable, there's a revenue share element and there's a leadership match, right? I keep it super vague, but the whole point is to sell the sizzle, not the steak. Leaning forward emotion, lots of enthusiasm, right? Get excited, right? And as I go to the compensation plan, the nitty gritty, I don't go too in depth. I don't make it an analysis paralysis. Why? When there's confusion, everything stops, right? So this whole point of a presentation is to pique an interest, get someone excited. Or if they're already a yes, they're going to tell you yes, right? You're not in control necessarily of the outcome. So what my job here is to just briefly pique interest, how there's 6 multiple ways you can get paid. Here's the retail side. Here's the aggressive expansion and team building and building a distribution channel. A uni level is based upon the efforts of how many people you could bring in as a business partner. Leadership override. Later, you get rewarded kind of like a royalty on the fruits of your effort. Here's the revenue share. Like I said, right? I don't go too in depth, right? Now, here, leadership bonus, to the extent I'll say this concept is a very amazing new way of creating a win-win. I don't make money till you make money. I don't get promoted till you get promoted. And this is a way of creating long-term residual income. My job is not to convince or data dump and get somebody confused. My job is to pique someone's interest and get them excited. Once they're excited, your job is done. Now, as you know, we have something called now money and long-term money. As long as you're willing to make that differentiation and teach them that there's a lot of money you can make along the way now. And as you do these activities, you can become wealthy, you can become successful. Your job is done, right? So when I get to this part, I don't go too deep. I just keep it very vague. And as you know, what I like to say is when you have a chance to get to your back office, there is a detailed compensation plan PDF in the drive, but also there is a detailed compensation plan Word doc that you can document. And for those of you that are not really detailed people, it's okay. I still strongly recommend you go download this document because by the time you're like a manager, a senior manager, you're going to know the verbiage, you're going to know the wording, you're going to have an idea. And as you read through this compensation plan explanation, you're going to get a lot of aha moments. And surprisingly, the way it's worded, it's very simplified and easy for you to understand. So kind of as like a general rule of thumb, as a homework, maybe extra credit, go download that PDF, take the time to read it and learn it because it will give you a lot of insight. It'll give you a lot of aha moment and it will open your eyes to things that you didn't really realize. But what I like to do is, like I said, a presentation isn't the time to go into the nitty gritty and explain everything. The purpose is to recruit and pique interest. And as you know, we talk about Las Vegas. This is self-explanatory. In our businesses are built event to event from pending events, and we always promote the next event. We promote the next speaker. That's how your business is going to grow, right? And as you know, one of the biggest pending events of this year, as we close out 2025 for September, will be Riemann Roadmap in Las Vegas. So that needs no explanation. And as you get into the starter kits, the whole purpose of this is, remember, they are already in the buying mode if you did the product demo properly, right? Now, you know, there's going to be people that, you know, have different purchasing power, right? Our job isn't to necessarily close hard and give buyers remorse because they felt pressured at the time. You want to emphasize here that more so than them buying the products, you're more interested in their time commitment and partnership together. This is what I emphasize the most. And by doing so, you're going to create an environment and an atmosphere where someone could feel comfortable and purchase where they're most comfortable getting where they fit in. Because yes, you're going to make money off the product of the sale, but your business is going to grow from the participation of your new planner growing, learning, and really expanding their warm market list, right? So, you know, most of the time, you know, people that are willing to go deep, you know, I do promote the 1500 pack, you know, because it is true. I always disclose you're gonna want some product for yourself. You're gonna want product to sell and one product to demo, right? So I always give that disclosure. But I always keep in mind in the back of my head, I don't say this at the event, at the presentation, but I do know in the back of my head there is a chance to upgrade within the 30 days, right? So my whole point isn't about the biggest kit. Yeah, you want them to, you know, you get paid for your time, right? So you get to choose ultimately what you're compensated for doing the presentation. So you want to push the 1500, but it ain't always about the biggest pack, right? It's about participation, you know, who could they could potentially lead you to, or certain leaders that they could lead you to, or you know their potential themselves that they have, right? But the whole point in the first presentation is piquing interest and getting the commitment, getting them in, right? And as you know, because there is that 30-day, once they realize that they need more product, once they see the value in having more product themselves, you know, they're going to automatically upgrade. Just have that peace of mind. The most important part is how you made the prospect in front of you feel comfortable, excited, enthusiasm, right? So make sure when you go to this part, um, You don't feel awkward. Just go through the motion and give them the option, get in where you fit in, right? So with that said, I'm gonna save my timing about the closing and things like that for the closing training. But what I want you to understand is when you get to the close, the most important thing is your posture. Your posture says everything, right? More than what you say, it's your body language, right? It's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? So the call to action is this, guys. Commit to doing consistent one-on-ones in your money making activities. When I talk about money making activities, it's not about how much recruits you get. Yeah, that's important because that's going to really set the tone and calculation of your month's commission. But what's more important than that is learning and mastering the skill, right? So what I want you to commit to doing is, what I mean by consistent is in a calendar month, make a commitment to doing 100 one-on-ones. That's right. You heard what I said. Make a commitment to doing 100 one-on-ones in a calendar month, regardless of the results. Let me explain what happens when you do this. You go through a transformation of growth. Think about it. Like when you get to 100 one-on-ones, regardless of your recruiting numbers, what's going to happen is you talk to 10, you get one, you talk to 10, you get two, you talk to 10, you get three, you talk to 10, you get four, you talk to 10, you get five. You're just getting better, right? You've heard this saying before, you're getting better. So by the time you hit 100 one-on-ones, your production by default automatically will be up. You can't lose if you do this. Why? Because a newfound awareness, awaken, and birth happens in you when you keep doing this literally like a lunatic. Because once you do this, it's like you can do the presentation without even having to see the slides. You do this enough to the point where your spit starts to taste sweet because you've talked so much. When you get to that point, when you get to the point where the uncomfortable becomes the absolute comfortable, a newfound awareness is born in you. So as you're doing the presentation, as you're doing it, you're going to be able to see body language, and then you're going to be able to adjust your pitch based on that person's body language, right? And then you're going to be able to make another assessment based on the way they looked at you, or based on the way their leaning forward motion is, or based on the way they're asking questions. And as you keep doing this, the one-on-one, the presentation is the same, but the style of it is different, right? You might be speaking a shark language or a dolphin language, a whale language. It's consistent, but now your energy is shifting and moving, right? So what you have to understand is high probable closers. It's not necessarily about the emotion of did I get a yes or did I get a no. They probably get way more no's than you, 1000x more no's than you. But they're playing actually at a high level, a different level, because for them, in that consistent amount of level, it's scorekeeping about how much results they're bringing in, right? So that's where you want to get to. So the call to action is to committing to doing consistent one-on-ones. Remember, there's 24 hours in a day. You have 24 hours, 8 hours to eat and sleep, 8 hours to go do your job, work full-time on your job, part-time on your fortune, and 8 hours of what you want to do with your time. So there is no excuse. In order for you to get good, you have to be bad. And when you're bad, there's only the way up of becoming better and good, right? So my call to action is become a master at doing consistent one-on-ones. If you build a foundation here, you can do K-pop-ups. You can stand on stage and train at events. You can do public speaking. You can do your own VIP events, but it all starts with presenting with intention. Instead of data dumping, try to tell it like a story so people can relate. Okay, so the call to action is that have posture. It's not what you say, but how you say it in your delivery. All right, guys. So with that said, in observation of convention next week, we will not be having a Friday Zoom next week, September 5th, because it is convention week. At this time, a lot of things will be happening. The gala will be commencing. Also, we will be towards the end of the Team Leader Leadership Friday training. So with that said, we will not be having a Friday Zoom next week. But the following week after, we will be going into week 4 on how to be an effective recruiter. Now, recruiting is my forte. Recruiting is the best talent I have. Recruiting is what I love doing. I enjoy it. And what I want to recommend is get on the recruiting training, because I will give you the insights every mistake I made, you don't have to do. Every positive outlook and action I took, I want you to apply. So with that said, I want to thank you guys so much for giving me your precious time, taking the time to learn, take the notes. With that said, we are going into Labor Day weekend. I hope you guys have an amazing Labor Day weekend. Do not drink and drive. Stay safe. Party responsibly. And I'll see you guys at the convention. I'll see you guys at the top. I love you. Thank you for participating this week. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye bye.